Hello, everybody. Are we ready for the very last, not the last ever, but the last for this boot camp, regular old class session? For those of you who might just be joining us off the internet, hello. What we're doing is, again, you may have heard it's the last session, but we're running a completely free programming boot camp based on the Class Central curriculum. And we're really supported by and run by Class Central. So it's all really exciting. We've got Lou saying, "Hi, cats." If you haven't joined us in this last week, I've just started fostering three very weird looking cats. So I just fed them. So I think they're asleep up there. So maybe we're safe. Today, we're going to be looking at the very last project. But one thing I massively want to stress is things aren't going away. It's not going to be like, oh, hey, this is the last boot camp. You're abandoned forever. No, we're definitely going to keep doing the boot camps. Everything's fine. And also, there's going to be, so just remind me, what happens if you get stuck and there's no more live streams? Where can you go to get unstuck? Who can help you? Oh, heck. I think there's maybe two different places we can go to get unstuck. But while I wait for you all to tell me, because I'm terribly lazy and mean, I'm delightfully lazy. Let's take a look at look at this. Everything's fine. Michael's like, look, if Jess isn't around, we can just go right to Discord. Okay, but so we've got three different approaches when we don't know a thing, but we can go to Discord or we can go to the forum for the first one, which is ask somebody. Oh, Rami has got this covered. We are like, I could go to Discord or the forums to ask somebody, or I could look it up on MDN, and that's the second one. Yeah. Michael's suggesting we could peek ahead in the lessons, but I bet you can't do that on the portfolio page. Haha. And that's our third approach. So if we don't know what's going on, we can ask someone. Even if the live stream doesn't exist, we can still ask someone. Um, You can look it up online, always chill, or you can get weird, which just means experiment and look around. And I'm really excited to because today, oh heck, where am I? Because today, heck, we're going to be looking at the very last project. And if you're not done with all your projects, that is more than understandable. This feels like more than 6 weeks of work for me. Oh heck, I've left your be weird up on the thing. So, we're going to be building a personal portfolio website, and we're going to be doing that together. But first, I wanted to show you a portfolio website somebody on social media showed me. Look how weird. I gotta make it bigger, don't I? Look how weird and delightful this is. For those of you who are not a little bit older, this looks just like Windows a long time ago used to look. So, this isn't what we think of when we think of a portfolio website. But here's a link that says, "Oh," and we get these pop-ups that give us the information. I think this is so exciting. Oh, oh, Mitch is saying maybe this is Windows 2000. I think this is Windows. Is this 3.1? It's got a strong old Windows vibe. Carlos is saying, is it Windows? I thought 3.1, but it might be 95. I've been doing this for a while. So this is someone named Georgina, which is a beautiful name. And we've got these very, very cool. Ooh, oh, wow. So they say, oh, I've done a zine of short fiction. So we can either dismiss this or we can get sent to the zine. Oh, this is very. And I thought this was an especially fun one to show you all because it's not all tech stuff. The other thing I was going to grab was I actually asked on Twitter about this. Twitter is like TikTok for old people with fewer videos. And here's a thread of about 50 plus examples of folks who said, "Oh, here's my portfolio. Here's my portfolio." I don't want to show them all live on screen just because it's really dangerous to click on a button. For propriety's sake, it can be dangerous to click on a button. Let me share George's as well. Sorry, I'm adding an extra syllable to your name, George. I'm very rude. Cool site. Very descriptive link, isn't it? So I'm going to come into the personal portfolio page and we're going to do this in a really laid back way. Yeah, we're not going to get through all of this. Let's bop on for about an hour or so if we want. Yeah. So, oh, where am I? Where are we? Who are we? What are we doing? Do, do, do. Singing to myself gently. So, we're going to take a look at these. And the big thing is, I've told you with the other I've asked you, you're adults. I can't make you do anything. I've lightly suggested I'd love to see you get creative with your other projects. I'm going to, in as much as I can tell adults what to do, politely insist you get creative with your personal portfolio website. And the other thing I want to stress is you're probably not going to like your portfolio website so much. When I asked on Twitter, everyone was like, oh, here's mine, but it's not very good. Oh, here's mine, but I haven't updated. Do you know what? I was just saying people don't like their own portfolio sites. I don't think I like my own portfolio. I don't think I've updated it in a million years. Oh, okay. Ooh, I'm not doing that podcast anymore. I'm not doing that meetup anymore. I should definitely update mine. But mine's just, oh, hey, here's some writing I've done. Oh, it looks like I last updated this in 2017. Super chill, super chill. So it doesn't have to have a ton. And it's really, here's really an example where the perfect is the enemy of the good. You're never going to be happy. Well, research being asking some other friendly nerds, research suggests you're never going to be super happy with your own, and just accept it. If you dislike it, launch it now and re-wobble it later. Re-wobble, refactor. And refactor means to rewrite it or to redo it. Where are we? What are we doing? Oh, so I'm just makes it sound very easy. I'm setting up this outline, sort of framework, but we've gotten a little bit used to. So we need our HTML. I think head, yeah. And I'm not going to do all of this because I'm going to cheat and skip ahead. But I do definitely need the link. See if we can get a little more space in here. Just shrink down my preview to nothing. Ravi is asking, like, oh, do I have to be on Twitter? Am I wasting my life? I mean, if you're not, you're not losing anything about. There's a bunch of tech conversations that happen that can be really useful, but it's also just a way to mainline bad news, isn't it? Oh, Jeff said the same thing better to say, Twitter's got some good stuff, but it's got an awful lot of garbage on it. Jinx. Link rel. Let's go ahead and just add our style sheet so we can focus on doing the fun stuff. And our ref, where our style sheet lives, is going to be styles.css. Cool, cool, cool. Oh gosh, do you know what we need? I was going to say this is enough to get started, but we need a body, I bet. And then inside our body, we need a main. Yeah. I don't think these are all the sections we're going to need. And let's go ahead and format you. That feels much more relaxing. Ghost Malone is so supremely right in suggesting, oh, Twitter's quite good for networking, but also awful opinions. Yeah. Where are we? Who are we? So Cassie may be making a book point to say, oh, hey, I'm not sure about whether or not to make a throwaway portfolio just for the project or use this to make a proper one and put it up on the internet. If it's helpful to make up your mind for you, go ahead and do a quick and casual one now. Go ahead and just do enough to pass the project. Or you could make it a little bit more exciting if you want. But take that one and put it online. I will bet you imaginary internet money. I don't mean crypto, I mean hypothetical money. I will bet you hypothetical imaginary money that once you put up a quick and simple one online, that you're going to be like, "Oh no, I want to clean that up. I want to fix it up." And Jeff makes a good point to say, "Oh, the free CodeCamp portfolio site, these don't support custom domains. But if you remember back to our guest in this second week, help. If you remember when we had Rizal come and talk to us, Rizal showed us how to do a GitHub page. Yeah. And taking your code from here and putting it on a GitHub page might be a really quick and friendly way to get this live. So, yeah, definitely put your projects live on GitHub pages or other hosting. And Ramon and I are going to be doing some other stuff soon. And I bet we're going to be talking to you about how hosting works and how to make it work. Dominica, look at you after my own heart and said, that's what I did. With most of my projects, Dominica, not I, decided to go ahead and just get it to pass and then come back later to clean them up. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and Logan says this in a very formal way. Why not make a proper one and then iterate on it? So go over it again and again as you learn a bit more. Delightful, incomparable, iterate. I love the computer words. Hang on. We've got to do it. No, we can chat while we do this because this is going to be a lot of creativity. And really, all I'm going to do with you today is review a little bit of the syntax, a little bit of the grammar of what's going on. Yeah. Oh, and Tsukino makes a good point to say GitHub pages can definitely do custom domains, so you can change your domain name. Um, and there's a spot, yeah. Oh, so CNAME is stuff for it's a little bit beyond the scope. That might be a little bit hard for folks, but GitHub pages can do custom domains if you're willing to get a little bit noodly. Dags is just popping on to say you can't stick around. And hello and goodbye, my lovelies. So, how about we, since our last proper class, but I promise I'll keep streaming individually, probably not 4 days a week. So I'll keep streaming individually after a short break, and we will come back and do more boot camps. If you've done this one and definitely want to do JavaScript, Ramon is a much better teacher than I am. So much nicer, never mean. And I'm sure he's going to come back and do JavaScript again with us later in the year. Oh, probably next year, huh? So we've got the main. Let's do a couple of these user stories. And oh, don't forget that some of the mentors from the boot camp, Ramon and I, are going to be having an optional guest session tomorrow, starting an hour later than this. And we're just going to talk to you about what kinds of things you might want to do after this boot camp. Yeah. So here, I'm just going to walk you through some of the stuff you already know. Here's a section with an ID of welcome section. Oh, heck, we can't have a space. That's fine. Someone is requesting I release the cats. Uh, but it is out of my control. Oh, look at you. The never wrote after my own heart where you're pointing out, oh, do you know what? Section here is really useful because this has more semantic meaning than an empty div. A div is just a box, empty box. But a section is saying, hey, this is an individual section of this website. It carries that extra semantic meaning that is a section after my own heart. Where are we? Who are we? Okay, so this has an idea of welcome section. I think that we can take a deep breath down and run our tests. And I think this first one is gonna pass. Yeah, we've got a section that has ID. We're going to come back up. Whoop. And we're going to have an H1 that contains text. I'm going to do this on another line just for human readability. Cats. I have an H1 here. Does that need an ID? No, it doesn't need an ID at all. So, what's a good, do you know what? One thing I might stream next is me fixing my own website. I haven't Jess's website or portfolio. project section. Hang on a second. So I should have an H1 that contains text, and number 3 doesn't say anything about my H1. I think this might be a standalone tick box. I'm going to take a deep breath, whew, and scroll all the way down. I think when I run my tests, these 2 should pass this time, huh? Oh, I'm going to run my tests. Oh, 3 of them, 3 of them. Oh, I got a bonus one for not having an empty H1. Everything's fine and everything's going to be fine. So let's whoop. And the whooping up and down seems absolutely exhausting. Y'all are so patient. So we should have a project section. So we're going to have another section. I don't think projects, I don't think the project section would sit inside of the welcome section. That feels sort of counterintuitive. So I'm going to create a new section that's after the welcome section ends. And this one is going to have, is it an ID? Is it a class? It's an ID. Okay. I'm going to close my section. Yeah. The project section should contain at least one element with the class project type. Tile. I read this as title at first, but this says tile. I think this is going to want to have my projects as little tiles. That's pretty exciting. Can you tell me? I think we have a couple different options for how to do our layout. Is there a sort of good mental map? Oh, is it project title? Title. TIL. Yeah. Everything's fine. Oh, there's a typo. Hey, this is a really good point. That a grid layout might be a really good way to do this. Oh, where is there a typo? Oh, so is it title or tile? The project should contain at least one element with the class of project tile. I'm going to come down. It seems to say project tile, doesn't it? Folks are saying that this is probably a typo, but I think that maybe this is a tiled out version. Maybe this wants, you know what? Did you give me an example? Not you all. Let's take a look at what the example. See, this is why I think it says tile, because these are all individual. And let's check our page source. And let's embiggen our page source. If you are a non-native English speaker, embiggen is not a real word. It's okay. So here, who said that grid? Where'd you go? I'm picking on you because you're right. Neverworld said, do you know what? I think a grid layout might make a lot of sense here. Flexbox would make sense as well. But it looks like the person who made this example decided to go with grid. Yeah. And do you know what? This is absolutely my fault for not showing you the example when we started. So this is saying, hey, in order to pass this test, I'd like to see this sort of tiled out like this. I'd like a visual representation of all of these, but you don't have to put them all chunk, 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 chunk. You could, and you could easily do that with grid. Obviously, chunk, 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 chunk is a very, very technical term for blocked out on the page. But once you pass your test, you can go ahead and do more weird stuff. That is absolutely my bad. Let me drop this in the chat. Doo-doo. That is absolutely my bad for not giving y'all a look at the example first. So we were like, oh, is it title? Oh, is it tile? I think it's tile. So inside the project section, to be in here, let's format you. Oh, formatting's fine. I should have, what are these? What are these elements? These are images. Huh. So in the example, Oh, that's quite good. Oh, no. Oh, that's very nice. When you scroll over it, you get the little HTML marks around it. Hmm. We're gonna have take a look at the source again. We're not copying, we're just getting inspiration. Oh, and Night News makes a good point to say, do you know what? These tiles don't have to be square. We could use what CSS property could we use to make them more circly than square? Hmm. So it looks like we might want to do some image hosting somewhere. Just to get our own stuff on here. Yeah, all of y'all. Border radius. Okay, but without looking, obviously you can look. Um, what do I set my border radius to make something square? All of y'all are just like border radius. After my own heart. Y'all remember stuff way better than I do. I'm actually going to make a div because it doesn't tell me it doesn't tell me that these, well, I'm going to come up. Thank you very much. Where are you? It doesn't tell me. Yeah. 50% to make it a circle, 50% to make it a circle. And Cassium's like, ah, dang, we could use transforms to make this weird shapes if we wanted. And now that you said that, I politely insist. I'm not actually telling you what to do. Oh, the encoder's saying we can host images on Replit. Is that true? I'm just gonna look for a very, very okay. For website. Yeah. Where can I just put some? All right, Tech Radar, what you got? Don't show me any pictures of anything sassy, please. Oh, I'm not paying money. You all have a good day. Can I to Imager on website? Can I do that with Imager? I'm not sure. We will deal with this in the chat because I'm getting a couple of different recommendations. Is Replit good for? Does Replit? I confess they made me use. Huh, who are these nerds? Nerds in the most affectionate way. I thought Replit was the folks who had. I'm most familiar with their instant IDE, which is why I had. Um, it's common in a lot of computer science classrooms, and that's why I had an almost immediate emotional response to it, which was sort of no, 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 no. But it looks like they might let us do some image hosting. Okay, 100 mega. Maybe I'm coming around. Okay. So it looks like these folks will let you host images. Thank you very much. And I should really be nicer to them. I'm just mean because I had to use Replit with Java, and it made my whole life a little bit less happy. I'm going to do a div of this tile just so I can think about the images later. We'll go ahead and in the Discord and in the forum try and suss out ways, and we'll all help each other to. Oh, Kinjal, you're absolutely right. I'm all like, oh, we need to find a service. We need to find a service. You can go ahead and put your images in your GitHub page. And that's going to be significantly easier, isn't it? Oof. And yeah, please fuss at me if I'm being unkind to Replit. I think I just don't like Java very much and it rubbed off. Java sounds a lot like JavaScript, but it's a completely different programming language. And actually, it's really useful. It's really powerful. It tends to be not really used on the web as much, um, but I am absolutely joyously rubbish at it. So I'm going to make a div class project tile. That's chill. I'm going to make a couple of them. I'm going to format my document. Yeah. And do you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start doing stuff in. I should have at least one element with the project tile section. My project section should contain. So I think I'm going to give these multiple class names. And what I'm doing is so far, yeah, because we did 4 projects that aren't this portfolio. So you have at least 4 projects to show off. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and just give me a little bit of stuff I'm able to see. I'm definitely going to want to set some rules for body. I say background color. I'm just going to make that pink for now. Yeah. Super chill. Oh, yeah. Cassia makes a really good point. Hey, sometimes we don't get out through all the project instructions. Let's take a minute and go through all of these. That's a really good point. Let's talk through all of these. So we've gotten through the project section should have at least one element that has class of projects tile. And we saw in the view source for this that they had that class for a div as well. But you could put that on, you could have that class for your images. Yeah, so that class doesn't have to be a div, but I've chosen a div and the example has. In your project section, you have to have at least one link to a project, and that could be a link to, I'd probably recommend starting to move all of these over to GitHub pages. So link to a subpage with it would make a lot of sense. It doesn't have to be GitHub. If you want to use other hosting, that's chill as well. So have some elements, I've chosen div, you don't have to, that have a class of project tile. We should have at least one link to a project. Hey, we should have a navbar with an ID of navbar. Oh, that's really useful. So that's probably going to be in the body, but outside the main. I promise I'm going to read through the rest of them, but I'm just going to. That's a nav. And that is an ID is equal to navbar. And right now, this is empty. But the navbar should have at least one link you can click to navigate to different sections of the page. Okay. So that would be having a link that goes to that goes to 1, which would jump to this class of 1. Yeah. The navbar should contain at least one link that jumps within your page. Chill, everything's fine. Oh gosh, I'm saying it's chill. I'm not telling you to chill. Oof. Ooh, it's going to get a little bit hard. Your portfolio should have a link of profile link, which either goes to your GitHub or your free Codecamp profile in a new tab. I am gloriously lazy. How do I do a new tab and a link? Yeah. I refuse to tell you. Instead, I will have a little drink of water. How do I specify in a link that I want it to open in a new tab? Yeah. Y'all notice that I refuse to answer questions and put it on you whenever I'd want a drink of water. We'll wait for you all. Hey, Sandra, that's so fast. Sandra's like, look, you want to go ahead and add the target argument here, the target attribute to is equal to blank. Yeah. Carlos is saying, I am blank. Oh, I've had one of those days myself. Yeah. But target blank will say, hey, I think this link is important, but I don't want you to leave my page. I'm going to open it in a new tab for you. I'm going to help you out. Yeah. Your portfolio should leave at least one media query. Let's get that MDN, and I'm going to grab media query. Yeah. Just to remember what these and remember that media queries, or if you don't remember, that's fine as well. But media queries are giving us this opportunity to say, hey, I don't know what's going on. Like maybe we want to set some rules for maybe you're looking at this content in a print preview, or maybe you're looking at this content in a giant, fancy, expensive monitor, or maybe you're looking at this on a little tiny phone. I want to go ahead and set different rules. I want you to deliver a different experience via CSS using these media queries. I want to say, hey, I'm first going to set a condition saying media query, if you got a tiny screen, and I'm going to define the screen, give people the CSS. Or if you've got a giant screen, do this. It's super weird. Yeah. Where am I? Where are we? Oh, amazing. So Cassium is saying nav is just carrying semantic meaning. Yeah. And it can contain any kind of elements, right? Like, and I love this question because Cassium's asking, like, is it necessary to look like a nav bar? Cool. So it is semantic. The only difference between nav and a div is it's a empty box that carries that extra meaning that says, yo, all of the navigation or most of the or the important navigation here is in this nav. I definitely have nav related stuff in there. Like whether or not you style it to look like a nav bar or have it look like a bunch of different fruits in an orchard you could pick from that are labeled, always labeled, as long as it's accessible and readable visually for your users, you can get as creative and weird as you like. Keep in mind, though, that balancing creativity and weirdness and usability for your users. So I never want to stifle your creativity unless it comes to accessibility. Ooh, I like this idea. Or make it look like a radial menu in a video game, maybe. Yeah. So I definitely want y'all to get weird, but I want y'all to get weird in accessible ways, please and thank you kindly. The height of the welcome section should be equal to the height of the viewport. Okay. Well, we can do that right now. We'll do that in a second. Oh, so, we've got two different questions. I was about to say the last requirement is the nav bar should always be at the top of the viewport. And Lou's like, okay, cool, but we haven't done that yet. How do we always keep the nav bar at the top of the screen? And this is something that we can cheat. It's not really cheating. Yeah. Here we go. Jeff says, oh, they suggest you use position fixed. But Jeff makes a solid point here that position sticky to say, boop, boop, I want you to stick there. I'm going to effectively nail you to a specific place makes that work. Yeah, so you can use position fixed or position stick. Let's make that happen now. Together, let's do the media query and let's do this last part. Okay, so let's do the difficult parts together. Please notice that with my CSS, I've just gone through the trouble to making this pink. So I'm going to add a link to the navbar just to a ref, just to go ahead and give us something to, just to give us something to see as we work. So you see that we can't, you see that we can't see anything. I've made a blank link and it doesn't have any alt text yet. What was the first project we did? Was it a tribute page? I'm going to say tribute page. I've got a link that says tribute page. And our ref here is, I'm going to say that goes to the first project. Really? This class could be tribute instead. It would make a bit more sense. So here we've got this. Now, let's stick our nav bar to the top. Oh, heck, this is too many things. This is too many things. With the nav bar, I can use a class selector, or I could use the ID of nav bar. I've only got one nav here, but just in case, I think semantically, uh, can I have more than one nav element? Can I have two nav elements? Section of the page, navigation links. Usage notes, usage notes. You don't have to have all links. Okay. A document can have several nav elements. Oh, so maybe one for site navigation and one for intra-page navigation. Okay. I didn't know if it was going to be like, oh, we only want you using one at a time. So if we can have more than one, I'm probably going to set this rule. Where are you? Where are we? Who are we? Y'all, over the course of 6 weeks, have just gotten to enjoy me having a slow, meditative breakdown. And where Jeff suggested position sticky. Yeah, let's try. Let's see what position sticky says. Position static, relative, absolute, sticky. Oh, position sticky, top 20 pixels. So 20 pixels down from the top. Oh, Jeff says he tried. They tried position sticky and it wouldn't pass. Okay. So, oh, Jeremy, you like how much we used to empty it? I am. I've got a bunch of hair bows stuck to it, but personally, a big Mozilla fan myself. I used to work there a long time ago in a different life. So it probably wants us to use position absolute then, right? How? Position absolute. And then what do we think for top? What do you think for top? If I want to say position absolute, that's look at that. Look at that. What a mess. And when I have set position absolute, what have I done here? I've given it a permission slip excusing it from something, which has made it weird. What happens if I say top 0 pixels? Oh, I think this probably sticks it to the top. I want like this is a little bit crowded, right? I don't like this. On a margin, is it margin bottom? Hmm. Why are you not working? Oh, it's because it's removed from the normal flow, but this isn't. Let's set some rules for that. But before we do, I'm just dragging you all around this world up and down, left and right. So we've got these ones that say the navbar should always be the top of the viewport. Okay, let's see if that worked. Let's see which tests. Where are we? I'm going to come all the way down. Let's see which tests correspond to. So we've got a, can you all even see? Why can't I scroll down? Hmm. I've broken the internet. Everything's, oh, that's as far as I can scroll down. Can you all see that? We've got, let's get rid of this brand button for a second. I still can't see it. I still can't see it. StreamYard. So we see at the bottom, the last one says your navbar element. Is there just a no overlay option? There's a no overlay option. I'm a goof. So here we see way down at the very bottom, your navbar element should always be at the top of the viewport. Okay. I hope that maybe this one will pass now. I'm going to come up and run our tests. Oh, we got a lot of little ticky points. We got our points for our navbar. Our navbar starts with a link, and it's an internal link, so it starts with that little hash you do. Okay, so this worked. This hard one. Our navbar should always be at the top of the viewport. So using Jeff's advice, using navbar position absolute worked, and top 0 pixel work. So the next thing I want to do is add our media query. But what I want to do next is fix that Jess portfolio so it doesn't overlap. That's stressing me out a little bit. And I think that's in our welcome. Oh, there's too much going on. There's too much stuff. Sorry, it's a bit whiny. Somebody's saying you're too late. You're never too late, my love. All of these videos are going to live on the Class Central website, I guess, for as long as videos live. Like nobody's planning on taking them down. Everything's fine. Oh, so Jeff is saying you think that Navbar should be fixed instead of do you want to try fixed instead of absolute and see if that works? I think visually it should be about the same. Nothing's changed visually. Oh, it's still overlapping a bit, but if we come down to the bottom here, oh, and run our tests. Okay, so navbar element should always be at the top. It accepts fixed as well as absolute. Both of these are fine. Everything's fine. What I wanted to do next is let's untangle this. Goodbye. Let's untangle this. Oh, hang on, hang on. I'm just trying to make y'all dizzy. It also said that the height of our welcome section should be equal to the height of the viewport. The height? Really? Is that what it says? Do I get a test for that? Where's welcome? Welcome. That being as tall as the viewport feels weird, but okay, you said height. I'll assume you meant height. Let's come into this welcome. Oh, are you welcome? Are you a class? Are you an ID? You're an ID, and you're not just an ID. You're an ID called welcome section. And here, height is 100 view height. Okay. Where was the test that corresponded to that? Cassie makes a good point. Say, sounds like they want like a big hero image. And a hero image is exactly what it sounds like. It's a big show-stopping image that you put at the top of your website. Or do they have one here? Oh, dude, this is what they mean. They say, oh, they want this big, impressive. Oh, it looks like they've used a gradient, very subtle gradient. And here's something I really want to stress. This whole time I've been saying, I'm not the boss of you. No one can tell you what to do. I am going to boss you around here, which is I politely and durably insist that you call yourself a developer. If you want to, if what you really are is a designer, if what you really are is an entrepreneur, absolutely. But don't think I'm a learner. I can't call myself a developer yet. If you're building a portfolio page to show off your multiple portfolios, you are a developer. I am always mean to y'all, but this is the one thing I will absolutely whoop y'all about. Verbally whoop. I'm not actually going to fight you. So we want this big thing that takes up the whole of this. I think back in the day with newspapers, we could say, oh, above the fold, we want this whole thing to take up. Okay. So I think, I think in order to make that make sense, our welcome section, I'm going to give this a different background color. And it's not going to look super cute yet. Hey, look at that. It's not going to look, so it does take up the whole thing right now because there's nothing under it. I'm going to give the nav bar some height. Uh, why isn't that working? I know what the problem is. I've got a couple let's change the background color. So Carlos is pointing out that we should add some width to this, but it should have some width on its own because it contains the text up there. We should probably have it take up 100% of the viewport width. The width here, I want to say percent of the view width. Okay. And it still hasn't changed anything. I'm going to say the background color. And this is one of my favorite ways to troubleshoot layout. Oh, wait, blue means we can't see the link. We've got pink and yellow, white. Okay, so now see what's going on. I think I want to. So right now everything's looking okay. And you say, well, I mean, this isn't looking okay. I say, no, no, no. Stick with me. The welcome section, I'm going to add padding top. I can add margin top as well. Margin padding? Yeah, Jeff is suggesting margin. Margin. And when we say margin top here, we're going to push it down. Hey, look at that. Just push a little bit. I don't actually want that though. What I want is for the text to be pushed down, but for the yellow to meet the white. This has nothing to do with our requirements. This is just me being weird. And we might have other H1s here. So here I'm going to set an ID equal to title. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this margin top, but absolutely the right way to do it. Dominica makes a really good point to say we could do this with padding. Yeah. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, for my ID, wait, for my ID of title, I'm going to say margin top. I'm going to set that 2REM there. And then for welcome section, padding. Padding top 2REM. What happens if we get rid of this? Oh, no space. But okay, that does what I wanted to do. Everything's fine. Where am I? So there's a bunch of different ways to get what we need here. And actually, this feels like my current website, really, that I'm still sort of troubleshooting out because all of it's here's the white bit, here's the this bit. Let's go ahead and give ourselves some dimension to our project tiles just so we can see where they go. And here we're just creating placeholders. So we're not going to get the imaging. We're not getting them super clean right now. Right now, we're just sort of making boxes of different colors. We're changing the background color of our elements to see. Ugh, allergic to cats. Who would adopt cats if you're allergic to cats? Oh, Jeff makes a good point to say, visually balancing this, setting the Navbar element to 2REM, and then having those balance out would be quite cool. Carlos is asking, well, would position sticky be better? Position sticky would also work. I think I might personally use sticky. But Jeff said that you tried that and it didn't work, which is a little bit stressful. Where are we? Where are we? Who are we? So let's make that Navbar height 2REM. Yes, we've got that much. Do you know what? I want some top padding top 0.5 REM. Yeah. I don't want, yeah. How does that feel? It's okay. Yeah, so sticky would travel would sticky travel with us as we scroll down? So fixed means it's always going to be available on your page. Does sticky do the same thing? Heck. Where am I? Who are we? Padding top. Let's try position sticky and see how that feels. It won't pass, I'm told. But oh, so that sets a default margin and gets us a similar effect in this case that fixed it, didn't it? So we're coming right up on fit. We've got about 10 minutes left. So if you have any questions, go, 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 but in a very relaxed way. Carlos said, "Hey, if we want to use sticky, but if we don't like that margin, let's go ahead and get rid of the margins because we're still seeing a little blip of pink on these sides. Let's get rid of those by coming into body and say margin. Let's set that to 0. Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. So I'm going to give my project title some size, give it a height, and give it a width. What do you think? Do we want square or rectangle? We could change our jobs. So Jeff's asking if I use reset.css in my day job. I don't have to code at all. I'm free. I'm so sorry. I'm a strategy wonk, which is why I am so cheerfully bad at this. I mean, I'm relaxed at this. I'm learner accessible. For those who don't know, what is reset CSS? Go get it. Ooh. So it looks like it might be is reset CSS a framework? Is this what you mean? Oh, it does look like a little bit of a framework. So just some defaults built in. Oh, yeah. I don't really use any myself. I like to just go ahead and be a little bit rubbish at regular old. Sometimes you hear the word vanilla and it can get confusing because I'll use JavaScript as an example where you say, oh, there's JavaScript, but then there's React, which is a JavaScript framework, and Ember, which is a JavaScript. And then sometimes you'll hear people say vanilla JavaScript. And that sounds like it's another framework, but what it really means is, hey, I want to write JavaScript just plain old with no frameworks. Yeah. And for me, I like to write vanilla CSS, just plain old. If I'm going to be a little bit rubbish at it, I'd like to do it on my terms. So I'm going to set this to 300 pixels, and I could change this later. These are just placeholders. I'm going to set the background color. I want to be able to tell these apart. But for now, I want a background color of blue. Hmm. Projectile. I've got to scroll down to find you. Okay. So here, I've got all of these divs, and you say, oh, so Jeff is saying, oh, Jess, do you set all the margins to 0, set the font size explicitly? I do when I remember. Um, where am I? Where are we? Who are we? So here you say, Jess, you set that at 300 by 300, but remember all these divs are stacked on top of each other. So really, I've got a box on top of a box, which is maybe a big old rectangle. Let's go ahead and say, set the margin to 5 pixels all around, just so I can see. There we go, where those boxes begin and end. Everything's fine. Where I've got some questions here. I really like this question. So this is a general question. What's the difference between UX and UI designer and a web designer and a front end developer and an engineer? And this is a really good question because you said you tried looking it up, but the difference often seems kind of muddy. Yeah. And you're completely right here. The difference can be completely different depending on the context and company. And I'm excited about this because this is going to be a gently controversial answer from me. So, UX designer and UI designer are pretty distinct from web development, I think. A UI designer designs the user interface, so the visual stuff you're going to see on your website. And the UX designer. Sometimes these are the same jobs, sometimes they're separate. I often like to see them separate. UX is going to do design how the user interacts with this web page. Oh, where do they click? Where do they sign up? How does the flow go? So these often do share a lot of skills with a front end developer and an engineer. And I'm going to be very, very sassy about this next one. What's the difference between a front end engineer or a front end developer and a software engineer? I'd argue so in some places, in some countries, the term engineer is a protected title. You can't be an engineer unless you followed a very, very specific type of um, education and you've got a certification as an engineer. But that's very rare to find in tech context. I'd argue that the difference between a front end developer and a software engineer is going to be between, if we're talking about US dollars, it's going to be between $10 and $40,000 on your salary. These are often completely interchangeable. I know tons of software engineers who use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to do their jobs. And although I know a lot of front end developers who have the exact same things, but that title, software engineer, just tends to be a little bit more, have a little bit more oomph. Oh, sorry, I'm just punching the screen. Tends to be a little bit more oomphy. So also, there's no rules. If you're a front end developer, you can put software engineer on your resume on your CV. It's not a lie. It's the same job. Thank you so much for that extremely good question. Oh, so Metzel's asking, "Hey, will we have a UI UX bootcamp?" I'm so sorry. I don't. There's no scope for it right now. And to be honest, these are such highly specific skills that I wouldn't want to do you wrong by muddling through them. So there's no plans for the scope of this right now. But this is a really, really good point, and I really appreciate the feedback. I will put it in my little box of feedback and take a look at it later. Yeah. So Jeff has said, "Oh, Jeff, you've managed a bunch of software teams. That's well fancy." And you said, "Look, I treat and pay the front engineers the same as the other developers and engineers." And I think this is really important that you said developers slash engineers. They're kind of the same thing here. Oh, chill. Does anybody have any kinds of more questions for you? Oh, here. Are there any other applications for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript besides web design, such as mobile development or desktop application development? So there are a lot of ways to port. So you can design in HTML and CSS and then port it into a native app. I've not heard of any desktop application development done in front end technologies. But generally speaking, if you're using HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, you're probably going to be building for the web. This is such a good question because people say, oh, why are there so many programming languages? What do they all do? Generally speaking, if you're looking for what language you're going to reach for depends on what kind of tool you're going to do. So if I'm going to build a website, usually, and there's exceptions, I'm going to reach for HTML, CSS, and then either JavaScript and or PHP, which works really well. There's some edge cases where you can use a technology called WebAssembly to run non-web languages on the web. But that is way, way in the future for y'all. Don't worry about it. But if I'm saying, oh, I want to build a desktop application. I want to build a desktop, maybe Java. Yeah, maybe C++. If I said, you know what, I want to do some data analysis. Yeah, maybe it's a good time to learn Python, which is another programming language, or R. So generally speaking, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are happiest on the web, but sometimes they can do other stuff. Yeah. Oh, where am I? And Cassius makes a good point. You would say, well, no, Jess, come on. You've got to point out that JavaScript does exist in desktop environments. So you can use it in desktop applications. And you could definitely use it in mobile with backend stuff like Node. And we haven't really talked about the difference between backend and front end yet. So generally speaking, front end is when you write the code, you can see it. So it's the stuff we see on our page. And backend are the gubbins that makes that work. So those are things like the databases. Those are things like the applications on the back end. So Node and Electron are examples of two different technologies that let you use JavaScript outside of webby stuff. Yeah, y'all are far, far too good at this. So this is a very controversial question. And this question says mobile first or desktop first. And really, what this question is asking is saying, hey, when you sit down and develop a website, I like to get a pen and paper and say, oh, this would go here, this would, do you first think about how this will look? Think about the experience for mobile developers or desktop developers. And it was very fashionable, and I think still a good idea to say, hey, designed for mobile first and then rearrange it for desktop. And that's because when we look at web traffic today, so how people are using the web, the majority of people who are looking at websites are looking at them on mobile. Um, Mobile first or desktop first, I'd say do not ignore mobile, but it depends on what your audience is. Yeah. So you definitely need a good experience across both. But if I'm doing something like Figma, woof, I hope I never have to make Figma on my own. I'm probably going to first think about how so Figma's a in-browser sort of design prototyping app. It's very cool. Just got bought by Adobe, so I think everybody who works on there is rich now. Good for them. Um, but it's a high intensity. So it takes a lot of compute power to work. Um, but most people are going to be approaching that from desktop. So I might bring my desktop brain to it first. Joy makes a really good point. And this is especially true globally. More people use mobile devices to experience the web now than any other way. So coming at most non-application websites with a mobile first mindset is absolutely the correct way to do it. Yeah. Oh gosh, and you're asking a bunch of mobile applications. I'm so sorry. Is backend for mobile application web developers similar in how they're programmed? I don't know. Sorry. I know that a lot of the architecture design is relatively similar. We get things like model view control. Let me go get the link to that. So model view controller, MVC, uh, architecture. MVC is a way to conceptualize. Does MDM, do you have an explainer for that? You're so good at that. Yes. Sorry, that's very exciting. Um, and this is just an example. This is very, very, difficult for me. Difficult for me to teach. This is a concept. It's a pattern to develop software, and it sort of separates where you put the model, the stuff you see, where you put the controller. So model handles the business data and business logic, the view, the stuff you can see in the layout, and the controller where the commands go. And this is a really common design pattern. This is a common architecture, both in the web for web applications and for mobile. But I am so sorry that I have never done I've never done any successful mobile programming. So I would definitely ask a real adult. Fabulous. Do y'all have any other questions I can help you with? And this is not the last live session of the boot camp, I promise. Tomorrow, our guest session is just plain old me and the lovely, glorious Ramon and our incomparably brilliant um, colleagues who've been doing mentoring here. And what we're going to be talking about tomorrow is it's an open Q&A. It's going to be super laid back. And that's going to be an open Q&A really focusing on, oh no, the boot camp's done. What should I do next? Or what could I do next? Your homework. You say, Jess, you can't give us homework on the last day of class. And I say, I bet I can. Your homework is to go ahead and in your own time, try and get through the rest of these. So definitely finish up all the projects so you get a certificate. But if you're finding them useful, finish all of the individual modules as well. I could cheat and tell you that you can get your certificate if you just do the projects and don't do all the little steps. The worst thing is I'm going to try and give you homework for the rest of your life. In as much as you remember, in as much as it's possible, please be as soft and gentle to yourself as you learn and as you bumble through life. Not that you're bumbling, I bumble, so I assume everybody bumbles. Just because I have been alive for a long time and I've been me for a long time, and if I've learned nothing else, I think I've learned that all the times I was really hard on myself and really down on myself, it didn't buy me a thing. So if I can give you ongoing homework, it's to cultivate a mindset of being soft and forgiving and easy with yourself. This is the last course session of the boot camp, but we're going to be right back here tomorrow. And we're going to be back here tomorrow to talk about what's next after the boot camp. Everything's scary and everything's weird, but so far as learning goes, everything's going to be okay. I promise we're going to do more boot camps and I promise we're going to do more streaming. The session tomorrow starts 1 hour later than the core sessions did. So, an hour later than you've joined us, we'll be doing that tomorrow. You are all a delight, and I will chat to you soon. Bye, my loves.